hopefully my agenda is still correct. It's tricky when I get it at agenda set and then don't get an update after that. So hopefully it's right. Yeah, hopefully that's it. And then I2. Yes. Thank you. All right. I think I'm ready. Are we all ready? All right. Good evening. Thank you for joining us for our board meeting tonight, and I want to apologize for the delay. We had a lengthy closed session agenda. I appreciate your patience and bearing with us. All right. Do we have someone to lead the pledge tonight, or is it me? Great. Meeting called to order at 7:33.
Actually, not me. I have one of my amazing 6th grade students, Jenna Williams, who's going to lead us in the pledge.
Wonderful. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to... Too fast.
Please stand.
We're ready.
Put your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. Well done. That's a great start to our meeting. All right. We have called our meeting to order, said the pledge. We have all board members present, and thank you again for joining us tonight for our meeting. Item C3 is a report of action taken in closed session.
Good evening. In closed session today, by motion of member Darren Drum, seconded by member Roger Dome, the board voted to enter in and approve a settlement agreement in a student special ed litigation, OAH, case number 202-407-0511, by the following roll call vote. The ayes were Maya Phillips, Darren Drum, Roger Dome, Dan Summers, Don Perfect. There were no votes against, and there were no abstentions.
Thank you very much. Don't shut your mic off. We're now on in item C4, instructions for addressing the governing board.
The Ramona Unified School District welcomes your participation at the district school board meetings. Your participation assures us of continuing community interest in our schools. To assist you in the ease of participating in our meetings, the following guidelines are provided. Orange, request to be heard cards are available to all audience members who wish to speak on any agenda item and or under the category of item E, which is public comment. These presentations are limited to 3 minutes per person or 15 minutes per item. Submit completed orange card to the board's recording secretary in advance of the item presentation. Orange request to be heard cards will not be accepted once the agenda item has commenced. Speakers are asked to direct all comments to members of the board. All participants are asked to be respectful of each other and other speakers when they are addressing the board. Please public comment is set aside for the members of the audience to raise issues that are not specifically on the agenda. These presentations are limited to 3 minutes per person or 15 minutes per item. Public comments may be submitted online at the link listed at the top of the agenda. Please note that electronically submitted comments will be printed and distributed to the board members, but will not be read aloud during the meeting.
All right, thank you very much. We are now on item C5, and that's approval of the agenda.
I'll move approval with the one caveat that we pull item I2 from the agenda.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Roger. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That carries unanimously. We are now on item C6. That's approval of the consent calendar.
I move approval.
Thank you, Roger.
I'll second.
Thank you, Maya. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. That carries. We're now on Section D, recognitions and presentations, and as some of you know, we have Mount Woodson in the house.
Yes, thank you, everybody. And I want to introduce Dr. Stephanie Osowski, our new principal at Mount Woodson. And so I'll turn it over to her to introduce her team and what we're going to see tonight. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. We're so excited, and I have some really excited and probably a little nervous 6th graders, but I'm so grateful that so many of them were able to come. I first wanted to point out our awesome artwork by our students. I think the line is a dot on the walk. I think that was our kinder and first graders did that, and then just other awesome, we've got some really talented students. And so I'm actually going to I'm going to introduce our awesome music teacher, Mr. Wiseman, and he is going to bring up the kids, and they've got just a short performance and a few words for you guys.
Very nice. Thank you.
Come on over here. Hi, my name is Don Wiseman. I teach music at Mount Woodson, and we have a performance tonight with our band. Should we face this way or this way?
This way.
This way. Okay, thank you. It's my first time. So this is a representation of Mount Woodson's school band program. We have about 40 kids at Mount Woodson, 300 kids across the district that are in the school band this year in 5th and 6th grade. So it's very exciting. They get to choose one of 6 instruments to play: flute, clarinet, alto saxophone, trumpet, trombone, or percussion kit. But everybody plays the recorder for the first about 4 weeks or so. So we've had 2 practices, or take that back, 1 practice on our actual instruments, so we decided we'd play the recorder for you tonight. And before we start, I want to pass the mic so the students can introduce themselves and if they'd like to say something fun about being in band.
My name is Skylar, and I like being in band because you get to learn new instruments.
Hi, my name is Fatima. Hi, my name is Scarlett, and I joined band for the 2nd time this year to learn more about the clarinet and to have more fun.
Hi, my name is Elena Jones, and I joined band because it's a fun way to learn new instruments.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Walter, and this is my 2nd year in band, and I think it's really cool to learn different instruments.
Hi, my name is Andrea, and this is also my 2nd year in band, and I just think it's fun.
Hi, I'm Isaac.
Hi, I'm Jenna.
All right, so we're going to play a song for you called Hot Cross Buns. Hope you enjoy.
Right?
Is it okay if we have the kids turn around for a moment and have parents take pictures?
Absolutely. We
Okay,
would
come
love
right here.
that.
Come stand here, Mr. Wiseman. Come in the middle of them. And then lots of pictures from mom and dad
Yes.
and teachers. The 6th grade teachers came.
Excellent.
Awesome. Thank you.
I know, that might be our favorite one yet. That was so good. Yeah. All right, they're out.
Thanks very much.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mr. Wiseman. Very nice. Well. Yep. Oh, that's great. Oh. Hot in elementary school band. Oh, yeah, just exactly that. It was good. It was really good. Okay. Well, always delightful. We have our student board members here tonight, and we'll start with Erica, student board reports.
Good evening. My name is Erica Lawns, and I'm the student board representative for Ramona High School. Thank you, Dr. Truman, President Perfect, and the RHS School Board and Cabinet for having me here tonight and providing me with the opportunity to represent Ramona High School. Last week, we had our homecoming week that went exponentially. Things such as the annual homecoming dance, assembly, football game that took place. This raised school spirit and helped build a closer school bond. The seniors run the school spirit competition for most of the week because they had the most points. Our weekly Big Bulldog broadcast continues inside full swing. The broadcast includes students and teacher interviews, popular trends, and important information that the student body should know. Recently, a new club has formed on campus, which has been growing at a huge rate. The RHS Fishing Club, run by Mr. Larkin, one of RHS's vice principals, allows students to learn about the art of fishing. They've already gone the first trip as a club. There's plans to go another on Sunday, October 20th out of Mission Bay. Inside the upcoming weeks, ASB are working hard on activities like Halloween, Ribbon Week, and the Day of the Dead. Plans for Halloween is currently Teacher Trick or Treat. Red Ribbon Week is collaboration with the Suicide Prevention Club. This will also be a Spirit Week. Day of the Dead will be a collaboration with the library. Current plans are to make an ofrenda on the Big Bulldog stage and have a dance performance by the Folkloria Club. Seniors this past week participated in a senior workshop called including the FAFSA, college essays, and Palomar information. To help boost freshman morale and school spirit, Link Crew has been holding a freshman tailgate on Thursday, the 24th of this month for the freshman football game. Recently, girls' tennis has been in Poway, which has set them in line for another league championship. We are so incredibly proud of our girls, and we hope for great things the next home game next Tuesday against Mission Hills. We have also have an upcoming football game this next Friday. Last week we were sadly beaten by Malcolm L, but our Justice still remains hopeful and determined to win next week's game against San Marcos. There was a tournament last Friday for the NHRTC in Hawthorne, Los Angeles for marksmanship. There were 12 teams at this tournament, and we took 14 out of the 15 medals home that was offered. We placed first and second overall. Thank you for giving me a moment to speak, and don't forget that today and every day is a great day to be a Bulldog.
Very good report. Thank you. Zizi.
Hello, board members and Dr. Thurman. My name is Zizi Palchuk. I'm standing in for the MVA Student Board Representative. We started this year off strong and had the Fall Carnival for RCC. MVA's ASB is heavily involved as we have 2 fundraisers there, Dessert Dance at Pie Face, where we raise money for our future events this year. Seniors have been starting working on college applications, and through our English class we have started, has let us start thinking about our futures through essays and resumes. We also wanted to say again, have a thank you to RHS for allowing MBA to go to homecoming this year. We had 16 students attend and we all had a great time. Overall, we were super excited for our continued collaboration between schools, like having the PCAT at RHS and allowing MBA to go to the financial aid nights at RHS in Montecito. Thank you again.
All right. Thank you very much. Lovely report. Kiana.
Members of the board, Dr. Thurman. I'm Kiana Bugas, this year's student board representative from Montecito. Montecito continues to be focused on college and career readiness. We recently had presentations by Palomar College, a group of medical professionals, and the Ramona Chamber of Commerce. Mr. Jordan's STE construction students will be attending Trades Day at Palomar College in a few weeks. On October 25th, the ASB and the American Red Cross are holding a blood drive at Montecito, and we invite you all to donate blood. We are also holding a fundraiser with Jersey Mike's on October 16th, with 100% of our profits going to our students. Thank you again for the opportunity to represent Montecito and Future Bound this year.
Very nice. Thank you. Before we move on, did you say Jersey Mike's fundraiser?
Yes.
When is that?
That is October 16th.
October 16th. All right. I'll try and make it by. Thank you so much. The reports were excellent, and as always, we value your participation in our board meetings, but we also do understand if you have other responsibilities that take you away a little bit early. Thank you so much for being here. As we're doing our agenda, if I'm moving too quickly through something and you want to weigh in, just get my attention and I'll cede the mic to you. Okay. D3, report from California School Employees Association, Chapter 733. Okay, Ramona Teachers Association.
You're stuck with me.
Thanks for coming in tonight.
Do I need to turn it on? Okay.
Oh, there you go.
Hello. To start out, the retired Barnett teacher, Mr. Randy Schimpf, returned to teach first graders this last week the Barnett song before the first Bobcat Bash of the year. So we keep bringing our retirees back.
Nice.
Our seniors at RHS say he better also be there for the senior walk because that is tradition to sing that song with Mr. Schimpf. RHS marksmanship team, our ROTC kiddos, shot a tournament on Saturday against 12 other schools, and our two teams took home every individual medal available. So all of our shooters placed either 1 through 3 in each shooting position, 1 through 3 overall, and first and second place team trophies. We could only win 2, we only sent 2. And we also had 6 competitors in the top 10 overall. A special shout out to the varsity flag football ladies and varsity football team for their outstanding support during their sports clinic for our students with disabilities at Ramona High School. The athletes guided the students in learning how to catch, kick, and tackle as we practiced flag stealing techniques. Their dedication brought joy to every student involved and making a truly memorable experience. RHS hosted the district's first joint homecoming dance last Saturday, and it was a huge success. The disco theme was amazing, and the alternative high schools loved being included in the fun. As a staff member, Mrs. Wagner was very impressed with the polite courtesy of every single student who spoke to her throughout the evening. Ramona is stronger together. Props to Miss Mailer for all of her work with ASB as well, and that's been a very long week for her. Former teacher also tapping into those retirees, and VFW member Bill Tamburino visited Ramona Elementary 6th grade students to share with the students the role of the VFW and how the VFW supports our Ramona community. Mr. Tamburino taught students about the different branches of the military and the roles that young leaders can learn and earn through the military. Mr. Massaria wants to give a huge shout out to the amazing paraprofessionals in the IOP room at OPMS. He is very impressed with their professionalism and dedication to the students who need extra support. As a side note, huge props to all of our para educators, and we have several who started this month, and we are very excited to have higher staffing ratios in that area. RCC had a very successful fall carnival run by their PTSA. It was nice to have Outlaw Barbecue join in the fun this year, and both schools are enjoying art lessons from Mrs. Miller. Hanson Student Council had their first movie night last month, and they watched Inside Out 2 on the grass field and had popcorn and snacks. It was a lot of fun, and now they're planning for their annual Monster Mash on October 25th. Mark your calendars. Put on in conjunction with their PTA. And Mrs. Cruz and Mrs. Berlin wanted to share some fun and exciting things they've been growing in room 14. I encourage you to go by and check it out, or you can at least see it on our RTA social media.
Thanks so much, Corey. That was a lovely report. Marksmanship. Wow. That is so cool. Okay. We are now on... See, this first section was my favorite part of the whole meeting. Now we have to actually get work done. Okay, Section E, public comment. These would be orange cards that are not related to agenda items. Do we have any?
We do not have any.
All right. Section F, education services. Our first item to address is F2, and that's a report on pilot of instructional materials for psychology.
Yes, good evening, President Perfect and Governing Board. Tonight we bring two pilots of instructional materials. The first one is for the psychology course. It's a year-long course for grades 11 and 12. It's an elective. The pilot will run from January 2025 through April, and we plan to bring the text Thinking About Psychology, the high school version, back to the board for approval in May of 2025. As with all pilots, it will be, after tonight, out in the hallway for parents to review. It will go to school site council. It will also go to our DAC committee so that we're getting all of that parent feedback, and it will be added to the instructional materials feedback survey that is posted online.
All right. This item is information. Board members, do you have any questions?
Just a comment. After reading the book, I'm like, I think we could literally combine our health education and psychology together. I don't know how much you guys look at it. Yeah, but just an observation, how much information there is about sex ed in the book. I know it's relating to your body and specifically how that helps your psyche. However, it was quite a bit. I didn't realize. Yeah.
For pointing that out. Might be something to look at in the future.
Maybe.
Okay. Anybody else? Item F3 is a report on instructional materials pilot of instructional materials for fire technology 1 and 3.
So the second set of materials tonight is just an update from the materials that we brought in August. After some conversations with both the publisher and CAL FIRE, the updated book is felt to be just a better resource for the courses for Fire Technology 1 and 3. The pilot is proposed for this school year, coming back in May for approval, and all of those same processes are in place for these materials.
Thank you. We are now on item F4, and that's public hearing for approval of resolution number 2024-2025-04 regarding sufficiency of instructional materials.
Board members, each year the governing board is required to hold a public hearing and adopt a resolution that ensures every student, including English learners, has sufficient textbooks, instructional materials in accordance with state standards in mathematics, science, history, social science, and reading language arts. In addition, the governing board must also determine that every student enrolled in foreign language, health, or laboratory science has access to textbooks, instructional materials, and science equipment as appropriate. This item serves as the public hearing for approval of resolution number 2024-2025-04 regarding the sufficiency of instructional materials.
Thank you very much. I will open the public hearing. Public hearing is now open. This is the time for anybody that would like to speak to the board on this topic to come forward, even without an orange card. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Public hearing is now closed. We're now on item F5, and this is where the board does their thing with it. Approval of resolution number 2024-2025-04 regarding sufficiency of instructional materials. Any questions? Any actions?
Move approval.
Thank you, Roger.
I'll second.
Thank you, Aaron. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
That carries unanimously. We're now on item F6, and that's approval of new course of study, Ethnic Perspectives in Visual Arts.
Members of the board, tonight we also bring forward a new course of study for high school students in the area of visual and performing arts. This year-long course will provide both VAPA elective and ethnic studies credit to Ramona students and meet all the necessary state standards. This course will use materials eventually developed by the VAPA team, and once this draft is complete, the team will bring those proposed materials back to the Ethnic Studies Committee, which includes community members and staff and parents, and then ultimately back to the board as a pilot, and then eventually back to the board for final approval.
Okay. Thanks for mapping that out. So we approve, if we approve this course of study, then there's a pilot, and then the committee meets, and then it's back to us. Is that right? Okay, thank you for mapping that out. All right.
I move approval.
Thank you,
I
Roger.
have some changes to make.
Oh.
Okay, we don't have a second
fine.
at this time.
I'll second.
Okay.
Now we can have discussion.
Very good. Dan? All right. Conversation.
So I see that it says it wants to be inclusive and make be a voice for all students. So if it wants to be inclusive and include everything, so we have to remove marginalized, we have to remove historically underrepresented, because it would not be inclusive. Means we are excluding some that are not that. I propose to add ethnic in front of every instance where it says group. Otherwise, group could be anything under the sun. Groups by interests, groups by gender, any kinds of groups.
Can you help us follow along with what you're talking about?
Okay, so every time it says a group.
Like on the first one, just so that I'm aware.
Okay, strike marginalized.
That's in.
It's right on the top.
Let's see this one.
It's about line 5 or so.
Okay.
Down there. Okay, strike historically underrepresented.
Got it.
In front of every instance of group, add ethnic, because it's a course on ethnic studies. Also, I noticed there's no mention of everything ethnic in the text of that course except in the title. But it talks about cultures and names some cultures that are basically races. That's Asian or African American, that's a race. But this course is not called cultural perspectives in visual arts, and it's also not called racial perspectives in virtual arts. It's called ethnic, so hence ethnic groups we should be talking about here. Replace cultures with ethnicities in all instances. For the same reason that's ethnic studies, of course, not cultural studies. Or we have to rename the course. If we keep the word culture, we have to rename the course Cultural Perspectives in Visual Arts. So we have to maintain integrity and consistency. Let me see what else. Replace people group with ethnic groups. Because people group could also be anything under the sun. Source. I just made note. I don't know where it's in the text. Okay.
Replace people groups with what?
Ethnic groups.
People groups. Paragraph.
Also, I found there's a link to Apex Ethnic Studies at the end, we need to be able to access that link to see what's in that ethnic studies course that's online Apex course.
Currently, there is no ethnic studies Apex course. Once there is, we'll have to bring that course back to the board as a mirrored course to this one. There currently isn't one.
Then
at least not one that's a VAPA course. There's a history course, but not one that is this. Once it comes back, we always bring those back to the board for approval as a mirrored course to this one.
Then can it be please changed in available materials, because it's now listed as available
Can you
material?
speak up, please? I'm sorry.
Pardon
Can
me?
you speak up, please?
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Yes, we can remove that.
Yeah.
If that
so-
makes it clearer for you.
Okay, can we say, right now it's listed in available materials, Apex ethnic studies course, so maybe listed as something that doesn't indicate that it's available right now.
Okay.
Something that will be brought to the board in the future, or maybe remove it altogether if it's not available yet, because it is listed as available.
Can I clarify?
Yes, please.
Okay. So on this first brief description of the course, and then the next page and the top are the same language that we have in the English 2 course, because these were the things that the Multicultural Committee developed as the vision and pillars for Ramona Unified that we brought and presented on. I don't think that the committee would have a hard time with us adding ethnic in front of groups. I don't think that would be a challenge at all, and I can go through this and figure out where to add ethnic so that we could approve it with that. I would say that historically unrepresented groups is an important piece of the ethnic studies requirement, that unrepresented piece. We actually took this language straight from the Alliance for Constructive of Ethnic Studies that you had mentioned that we use. So from historically all the way down to perspectives is language straight from that particular resource that you provided, Ms. Phillips. So I just wanted to draw attention to that piece, and that the rest of it after that is just the VAPA standards. We can't change the standards.
Okay.
If in paragraph 2 it says cultures that include but are not limited to, and then there is a list of cultures that include but not limited to, and then it says American, so it includes basically everyone. So why don't we just say we'll include just ethnicities without listing any particular ones?
We have to list the marginalized groups in the course. It's a part of the requirement,
But
or
by
it
where?
won't pass A to G.
I looked at AB 101 that mandates this. I did not see it in AB 101.
I don't know.
So
where does it say that we have to list all Asian?
This would be Education Code 51225.3. That's
Okay,
what
so
we have
that's,
the parentheses behind it, so that it's. But I don't know the AB 10. I don't have that.
the Assembly bill is the law, but
But I don't have that memorized.
right,
Yeah.
but it's once it goes into Ed Code interprets it and tells us what to do. We have to do what Ed Code says as well. You can't.
And
do one or
they're
the other.
definitely being sticklers
Yeah.
on that unrepresented groups and calling out those particular groups. And we also have an American. You might remember or not that this course is also an opportunity for students to reflect on their own heritage and whatever they are, in addition to learning about other groups, and that's why that is also in there as well. So if there's a student in a course that doesn't belong to one of the underrepresented or marginalized groups, and they're in the American group, or I can be an American and be in any of these groups, right? And so that's an important piece to our board policy, and kind of why we have that in there as well.
So American does include everything else that we listed prior to that.
It could be, yes.
Then why list everything that's prior to that? if
Because
it's American?
we have to, as a part of the ethnic studies requirement. They are the marginalized groups that are called out as the disciplines within the ethnic studies requirement.
So what do we understand under marginalized? So we have it for the record.
So
what's understood under marginalized?
Underrepresented?
No, marginalized.
Which is not in that paragraph.
Which is not in that paragraph. That's
Right.
just a term that I use to interchange with underrepresented.
Okay. So we did have a motion and a second, but we do have some suggestions for change.
I can update with the ethnic
So,
before each group if we want to.
so I just wanted to make just an understanding. The committee or any committee that the board sanctions, they're there to they're there as a tool to support us. We do not need to go and get support from them for any changes. We can do that on our own. They don't do any approval. We do. But we appreciate all the work that they've done, and the minor changes that we're going to make is not going to be a problem. So I just want to make sure that we understand what the roles of committees are. The committees don't make any decision. They're not a decision maker. We are. But I just want to make sure that that's very clear, because I think in the past we've made statements like you just made, and I think it kind of confuses what the process is. So they're there to make a recommendation for us, and then we do the final approval. In looking at it, ultimately, I think this is about the spirit of what we're trying to do, and I think we can wordsmith it. I think it's fine the way that it is. I think when you read it, it says what we're trying to say, and I think you've done a really great job. The committee has done a great job in doing that. We could pick it apart, but it's still going to say the same thing, even if we make all those changes. So I feel like you listen to us, where people will be able to identify. Every student can identify, and every student can also have understanding about ethnic groups, cultures, and peoples in our country. And I think that's super important. And then they can feel like they're part of it, and then at the same time they can have empathy, as well as I think that they can embrace each other. And I think that's really what this is about. And I'm okay with that. And I just think I like the idea that you get credit for your visual performing arts. At the same time, you get credit for ethnic studies. I'm like, that's the most brilliant thing. Instead of having a separate class where kids have to take an extra class, and it feels like it's all this extra time you have to do, we embedded it in something that's meaningful and makes sense. So.
Thank you.
I have a question. So, Roger, are you amending your motion, or do you want to proceed as moved?
I'm okay exactly the way that it is.
So we have a motion and a second.
But if you want to cancel my motion, that's fine.
No, I think we need to vote on your motion, and then if it doesn't pass, look for an alternative. Am I wrong?
Yeah.
I think that is correct. Okay, so any more comments or questions about this before I call it? Yes.
Just one more thing, that page 3, standard 6, ACCBA PR 6.
Anchor standard.
Make, explain, justify connections between artists and artwork and social and cultural and political history. Can we add of ethnicities?
We cannot.
These are the standards. We can't change the standards, and that's kind of already in the premise of the course.
Also, we're going to invite community members or some guest speakers. Who is going to approve them?
Don't we have a board policy on that? Who approves?
Okay.
Who approves? Who comes onto campus and speaks?
Yeah.
Okay.
Principal does. In accordance with board policy, which would probably in this case fall with controversial issues or any of those other pieces.
The only thing that I see that really needs to be changed, and that's the online learning.
Yeah, I crossed that out.
And but that's more of, if it's not available, it's not available. So it doesn't. It's a kind of a moot point.
Yeah, it's not even there yet. It's just giving us the option that when it is available, that we can bring it back and not have to bring this back for a revision.
Right.
Any other questions about this?
So I'm okay just leaving it as is.
We're all good?
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to call it. All in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
Okay, that's a...
As is.
Yeah, as is. That's approved, 4 with 1 abstention. Okay, thank you. All right, we are now on Section G, Human Resources. Our item to address is G2, Approval of Memorandum of Understanding between Ramona Unified School District and California School Employee Association and its Ramona Chapter 733 regarding reclassifications of classifications.
Good evening, members of the board. Twice a year, we engage in reclassification or negotiations regarding reclassifications of classified positions. We've concluded the negotiations that started in spring and have entered into this MOU with CSEA. In this particular MOU, it addresses the job description for special education paraeducators 1, 2, and 3, and a revised job description for library tech secondary. As there are just changes to the job descriptions, there is no fiscal impact of this particular reclassification MOU.
I move approval.
Thank you, Roger.
I'll second.
Thank you, Dan. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
That carries unanimously. Item G3, approval of memorandum of understanding between Ramona Unified School District and California School Employee Association and its Ramona Chapter 733 regarding individual reclassifications.
Members of the board, where the previous MOU dealt with the entire group of that classification, these are individual positions within the district that have been approved and through negotiations for reclassifications. This MOU consists of a reclassification of the computer lab assistant position, the district office warehouse delivery 3 position, the food and nutrition secretary accountant 2, career specialist, and one of the accountant 3 positions at Ramona High School, and the warehouse delivery 1 position. These are individual reclassifications due to the ongoing increased responsibilities and duties of these positions. Some of these do, each one of these is also a change in salary. In total, the fiscal impact of these reclassifications is $21,502 on a yearly amount. It'll be less prorated, but this is yearly.
Okay. Thank you. This is an action item.
Madam President, I move to approve.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Very good. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, you do. Not going anywhere yet.
I tried.
G4. Yeah, you tried. Approval of short-term staff permit, elementary visual and performing arts teacher.
So, members of the board, we were hiring a art teacher with the Prop 28 money. A particular art teacher that we offered the position to that accepted was in need of a short-term staff permit in order to become fully credentialed. Having said that, since this happened just in the last couple days, this particular candidate declined after accepting the position. So actually, this is no longer needing to be approved tonight.
Okay.
Rats.
So,
You should still vote it down, though, because we didn't remove it from the agenda.
okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to deny this request. That
We
work?
don't normally do it, so I'm
Fine.
it is.
It's new. Do I have a second?
Sure, I'll second.
I'll second.
Okay. I'm giving that one to Dan. Heard him first. Okay, all in favor of denying this request?
Aye.
Aye. That carries unanimously.
No hard feelings, thank you.
Thank you for keeping us on track, though.
Yeah. Okay. Moving along at quite the brisk pace tonight. This meeting, I'm thrilled. Okay, we're now on Section H, Administrative Services. H6 is approval of... Right? Oh, they're watching online. Okay, approval of change order to award for structured cabling at Olive Pierce Middle School, project bid number 2024-6.
Good evening, President Perfect and the Governing Board. While conducting a walkthrough for the cabling project at Olive Pierce Middle School, it was determined that a change order is needed for the project due to some increased cabling needs. The cost of the project would be increased by $17,234.29. However, due to the E-rate program credits, there's an 80% discount available. The total increase in cost to the district, if approved, is $3,446, $1,000,000.86, which will be paid for using unrestricted general fund dollars. It is recommended that the board approve this change order for the cabling project at OPMS, specifically project bid number 2024-6.
Thank you. Nice.
Thank you.
All right, this is an action item to approve the change order.
I move approval.
Thank you, Maya.
I'll second.
Thank you, Darren.
I just have a question.
Yes.
It has to do with our contracts. So, are we limiting the amount of change orders when in our contracts? Does it say it cannot exceed a certain percentage of the overall?
That's a great question. I'm not familiar with this contract in particular, as this was put together prior to my coming aboard. But I don't know that there's a limitation in this one, other than this one is relatively small, and I don't anticipate that there will be any more after this. We had some increased need for additional cameras at the school site, and that's what caused this change order to be needed.
I'm not questioning this change order. I'm just saying that in contracts in the future, if we could look at limiting that, especially with the economy the way that it is, everybody's trying to increase their services, and I think we need to decrease the ask, because they just keep asking for more and more and more. So just my observation.
I appreciate that, and I will definitely notate that and have that for further reference.
Let me understand something. I think your question was, is there a ceiling to change orders in terms of cost? Is there or is there not?
I think it depends on the contract, and we would have to put that in, perhaps in the bid, that there needs to be like a guaranteed maximum price on a project. So they may pad it with some contingency.
Right.
So you may run into that. But I can definitely look into that and get information and put it in a board update for you.
The reason I'm saying is because I'm not going to name any of the contractors that we use, but it's been part of the history is that change orders come often, and I think it's easy to bid low expecting a change order, and so I think we need to do it the other way around. I'd rather know what is the actual cost going to be instead of and putting that kind of condition in it, so we get things that are more realistic instead of things that are so low and then we end up paying out more anyways. I'd rather it be the other way around. That's just me.
I think we always have to be cognizant that there are things that contractors can't see without destructive testing.
I agree.
They can't pull roofs back and see what the sheeting looks like or what the joists look like. So we do have to remember that we're always there is always the potential to be surprised once they get into a job. That's just realistic. I like your thought process that says, hey, limit your change orders. Right. But we also have to be fair to them, because they may start padding it and say, if I can't do any change orders, I'm going to add 15% to every bid.
And I'm not saying no change orders. I'm just saying limiting. Like when after the fires, the way the law is, they could go all the way up to 15% of the actual, of whatever the cost was. They could do a change order up to 15% of the original cost. And I'm like, well, it used to be the standard was 10, and so I'd like to put it in the contract so we don't have those issues.
I'd be willing to take a look at that.
Yeah, just something to think about. That's all.
And I have another question.
Yes.
We're the Ramona Unified School District. Okay. What does Escondido do about change orders? What does Poway do about it, or Santee or Lakeside? Are there other school districts that address changeovers in a specific way?
Well, I think I can tell you what Poway does. They just keep asking for more money by having bonds put on the ballot. They do it all the time.
Yeah, it's not us.
That's not why we're doing it, but that's what they do.
Correct.
So
Well-
I have concerns. I think that we really need to look at contracts because we don't always look at them. And so I think we just need to be smart about it.
This is a good topic for us to discuss, and it might be something we want to talk about a little bit further. I don't know if we have a board policy related to how we do bids and what change order mentions there are. In this case, it sounds like the change order is because we asked for a change. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, for more cameras.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds
Right.
good to me. I think we do need
Right?
that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that
thanks
that
for
makes sense.
getting out in front of it and not, putting us behind and bringing it to us in a year or two saying, oh, well, we didn't put enough cabling for the cameras that we now desire. So we did get a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
This carries unanimously. All right. Next is H7. That's approval of declaration of surplus items June 12th, 2024 to September 30th, 2024.
Board members, before you is a two-page list of items that have been declared for surplus. It is recommended that the board approve this list for disposal and selling of surplus items.
Okay. Thank you.
I move approval.
Roger?
I'll second.
Now, I have a question.
Yes.
How old are the Chromebooks and the laptops we're getting rid of? Just curious.
That's a great question. I don't know the age. I can start having that information and bringing that at every time we bring this board item in the future. I don't know the year and the make of these laptops. I'm sorry.
Yeah, because these aren't, it doesn't look like they're broken ones. It just looks like obsolescence. I was just curious.
Generally, when the Chromebook life ends is about when the testing, we can't use it for testing any longer. Usually about 5 years-ish is kind of where we're at with that.
And if we're issuing a 7th grader a Chromebook for the entire school year, if we get 5 years use out of it, that's pretty doggone good.
Yeah.
Right. I'm just curious. I have
Yeah,
no idea.
it's
That is
about
impressive.
whatever that
We really
lifespan
are.
is. Currently, our new game plan when it comes to student Chromebooks is we issue them in the freshman year, and then they carry that same Chromebook all the way until their senior year.
That's good thinking.
And then at that point, then we either, if they are still functioning, then we can sell them or donate them, or if they're not functioning, then we have to create them as obsolete. But even in the case with the teacher laptops, we're doing the same thing. Last year, items that were put in as obsolete or whatever, then we sold them to seniors. We did our most neediest seniors. Schools created a list, and then we were able to sell those laptops that were still functioning, but not functioning at the level of actually doing school business on a regular basis. They were wiped and all of the things, and then we sold them for I think $10 or $15. Maybe 20. I don't quite remember.
Really
And we even
cheap.
had some people that actually just donated the money to give those kids the laptops as they graduated.
So do you see this system of issuing in freshman year and then the student could keep that very same one when they graduate for?
Potentially they could with a Chromebook. We're seeing more of them as they go into their college years want the laptop instead of the Chromebook.
Right.
But potentially that could be something we see as we get to that point.
Okay, very good, thank you. Any other questions?
Nope.
All right, I'll call it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That carries unanimously. Thank you. We're now on approval of acceptance of gifts.
Yeah.
Board members, we have a generous donation of school supplies from Albertsons to the RCC campus for your approval and acceptance tonight.
Thank you. I got a chuckle about the detailed list when I saw it, like this many glue sticks and this many colored pencils. Yeah.
This is a
It was
parent who
cute.
works, or a grandparent that works at Albertsons that got
This was great.
Yep, it's really
Love
nice.
it. Love it. Lunch boxes and everything. Okay, it's an action item.
I'll move approval.
Just
Thank
want
you.
to comment. Thank you
Let me
so
get
much.
the second and then take your comment. Do we have a second? Is that you?
Yeah, okay.
All right, great. Maya, now you're
So
up.
I'm just glad to see it's so itemized because I think previous meetings, we did have just generic list, okay, this item, and we did not know the specifics, and we did ask for a specific list of, more detailed list of the gift, and I'm glad now we were heard, and now we can see the specific list. We appreciate that we can see every little detail, and it's,
Yes.
I'm not laughing at that, I'm happy to see that.
Yeah, yeah. I
Thank
don't
you.
expect it every time, but
Yeah,
it is.
thank you.
It is fun to see what the school actually needed and what someone was able to donate. Albertsons in this case. Okay, very good. Any other questions about it? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That carries unanimously.
Thank you.
All right. The next one is approval of acceptance of grants.
Thank you very much. The H9 contains a grant from Ramona Community Foundation, which is an affiliate of the San Diego Foundation, for a check for $4,500 specifically for a sensory room for students with moderate to severe disabilities at Ramona Elementary School.
Very nice. This is an action item.
Move approval.
Thank you, Maya.
I'll second.
Thank you, Dan. Tori, was there an event where is there an event coming up, or was there an event that was held for this?
Actually, a teacher reached out and applied for this grant.
Okay.
And put in the paperwork with Ramona Community Foundation in order to obtain these funds.
Okay, very good. Well, that is a fine group of people over there. I know most of them quite well, so it is appreciated. We do have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
That is unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We're now on Section I, District Operations. We have I-1, first reading of Board Policy 5116.2, involuntary student transfers.
Good evening, board members. This board policy being brought forward to you today is a new policy. This is something that CSBA has recommended that we have in place, and we have not had this in place in the past. So most of what you see here, actually all of what you see here, is their sample board policy. We have gone through it to ensure that it has the proper education codes in there, and Cabinet's reviewed it, and Director of MTSS has also reviewed it.
Thank you. All right, board, now it's time to do our thing.
I just have a question of why we've survived without this for a long time. Why do we need this? That was my question, because the law is already there. We're already doing this. What is this policy doing to safeguard us that the law is not already doing? I don't know. I was trying to figure it out. That's my question.
We have quite a few board policies that are a reiteration of Ed Code.
I know, but I'm like, why? This specific one, this is a no-brainer. So why do we have to state it when it's already in the law and we have it in other places? That's what I don't understand, is that we're already protected.
So that we're not exploited for leaving it out.
But we have it in other places.
I know.
So I just found it interesting. I don't.
Following this one, I'll also be bringing the ones that are connected to this one.
The next no-brainer policy.
That reference the involuntary transfers and all. It's kind of this like trickle effect.
Leslie's very complex.
And I'm sure if we asked our lawyers, they would say, "Oh yes, you should absolutely have a policy, another policy, and another one on that." Yeah.
If it's helpful, CSPA, and this can also be provided in a board update each time. I do just the little synopsis of it, but because sometimes this is too much information, but CSPA does give us the rationale for each and every single piece within their sample board policy. This one I happened to bring with me to the board meeting because we didn't have our past practice, and pretty much the whole thing's Ed Code anyway. The whole day's Ed Code anyway, so it's. You are correct. We are approving a policy that reads as Ed Code. So
I would like those in the future.
Yeah,
that'd be helpful.
That would be great. Thank you very much, especially when it's a new board policy.
Now makes me
we can do that.
Wonder about rationale behind page 1. Transfer of a student convicted of violent felony or misdemeanor related to possession of firearms. Are we, what's our rationale behind keeping students like this? Aren't we expelling students for doing that? Why would we keep a student for violent?
Yeah, that's why I'm
So, this is an action item. I don't have an answer to that, Maya.
I don't.
I share your thoughts on that.
We address each one of
don't
those as
know.
they come up.
Yeah, we do.
I don't have a problem with the policy. I just think we already have this in our policies, so now we have it again.
Yeah.
Is that a motion?
Yes.
I guess so.
Thank you, Roger.
Forward.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Darren. All in favor?
Aye.
This carries you. Oh, new policy on the first read. That's great. Okay. I2 was removed from our agenda. We are now on I3, and this is Lord Architecture and CL Consulting joint presentation of facility plans and projected reimbursement matching dollars. Okay.
Thank you, President Perfect. Members of the board, we have tonight Kathy Lord, Principal Architect of Lord Architecture, and Stephen Martinez, Chief Operating Officer for CL Consulting. And they will be doing a joint presentation and kind of tag teaming a little bit, where Mr. Martinez will sort of explain the phase one that we contracted for CL Consulting to carry out for us. And they had given us some initial information when we first heard from them. They have the facts now after their in-depth investigation and analysis, so they'll share that with us tonight. And then he'll explain what happens in phase two of that contract, which will come fairly soon. And then Mr. Martinez and Mrs. Lord will go through the attached color timeline, which is very detailed. It is a proposed project timeline, just so the board can look at what would be on our horizon. And again, this does relate to the proposed bond initiative, and in particular, the goal of getting in line for the $10 billion offered through Proposition 2. So thank you both for being here. I know you come a long ways to be with us, and we appreciate your time.
Good evening. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you guys so much for allowing us to present. And, Kathy and I have been working together to basically maximize the district's funding opportunity. And I would like to jump into how we can do that. But before we do that, I want to talk about what CL Consulting has done to get to where we are right now, to lay the foundation. And earlier this year, myself and Lori Ruiz came in and we presented to say, hey, look, this is the school facility program, and this is what the school facility program does throughout the state of California. And today, I want to talk to you about there we go. The phase one in the process, we have two phases. And then I also want to talk about the 23-24 eligibility updates, the 10-year modernization eligibility forecast, new construction eligibility, and then our qualification strategy, and obviously the next steps. So there are currently two types of funding eligibility, and that's modernization, and the other one's new construction. Okay, we're going to be talking about creating the eligibility for modernization. So that process is roughly, it's about 6 to 8 steps. I highlighted 6 strong milestones right here, and the first one is data collection. That's going to be key, where CL Consulting worked very closely with Lord Architect, the district staff, and I was bugging Tori like a lot. And what we did is we right at that stage, what we want to do is we want to build a school facility analysis. That's basically the school's site's thumbprint. And what does that capture? That captures the buildings, captures the age, it captures the square footage, it captures the actual use of those buildings for every site. And then what we can do is we say, okay, we have the sites, we have all the detailed information, we take the enrollment, and we run various scenarios. There are certain sites where the eligibility based off of the enrollment is higher. There are certain sites where enrollment is flat compared to previous years. And so we run various scenarios to pick the best one, the best optimal one for the district to maximize the funding. And then finally, we have the last three stages. The last three stages, we are reconciling the data. We also, not only working with Lord Architects, working with the district staff, we also work with the Office of Public School Construction. The Office of Public School Construction is going to be our source to get any historical documentation for the district and the sites. And so, and then we'll, in the next week or so, we'll be providing the 5003 eligibility increase forms to the district to review and sign. Once those are signed, we submit those to the Office of Public School Construction for submission. Let's see the next slide. So currently, the district and CO Consulting are in contract for phase one, and phase one includes the eligibility of what I just described. The rest of the process is strategizing, qualifying projects, CDE submission, and then finally OPSC submission. That OPSC submission is key because once you submit to OPSC, the Office of Public School Construction, that's when you get in line. And ideally, for the next year to 2 years, it's going to be a mad dash to get in line. And I say that because there are currently it's about $3.9 billion of projects that are on the list right now, waiting to be funded. And it's $3.9 billion that are on the list right now before Prop 2 even passes or hits the ballot. And so, do I think Prop 2 is going to pass? I think so. I hope so, because it's going to do the state of California a lot of good. Not only the state of California, but school districts themselves and learning environments. And recently, I sat in at a Coalition for Adequate School Housing conference where they talked about an August 2024 survey of Prop 2 and basically how it's standing in the public's eye. And right now, it's a 59% approval rate of voters that will, 6 out of 10 voters are going to vote yes. I think, yes.
What does it need to pass?
55. So 59 is a good number. 59 is a good number. I will take 59 to the bank. So before I get into the phases after, the milestones after submission, are there any questions right now? Because after this slide, I think it's the best slide of the entire deck, guys. I promise you it's the best slide. Yes.
We're going to pay attention. Pay attention.
I just have questions on the process of when we decide basically what the final building is going to be like and all that. What step is that? Because I'm looking at it, eligibility, strategize. When do we make we say this is what we approve, what we want it to look like, what we want it to be in the rooms and all that?
Well, we talked about it a little earlier, and it really, from your historical records, it's probably November 6th. That's when you can start so you feel comfortable moving forward. And, there's a lot of options, and we'll go through them.
Okay.
But you really need to pass the bond first.
Right. I just wanted to understand kind of the timeline. So basically, December 6th, that means...
November 6th.
Excuse me, November 6th. Oh, okay, that's really early. But we would have to kind of be able to see that clearly both bonds have passed. And
correct.
Then it has to be a clear win.
It doesn't, the state bond doesn't have to pass for you to pass your bond. They're not dependent on each other unless you want to, unless we have some eligibility. I think we do.
Right.
To the tune of about, 10 million.
Eligibility for Right,
Yeah,
that's what I mean.
to increase the value of your bond.
Right.
That would be from the state level. But odds are right now that the state bond will pass Prop 2.
Right.
So
when I'm looking at this process for the funding, you're saying that November 6th?
6th.
So right, really on, as of the election.
Yes.
We can literally start funding and then...
No. Well, you can't start funding, but you can start planning.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
You can start the funding process, and then say it passes. When do we start finalizing plans? And then the other one is, when do we get ourselves in line for the matching money?
We have a chart for that.
I think that's coming up.
We can bring that up right now if you'd like. You want to do
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you bring up the timeline?
To me, this is not about.
Is it this colorful chart?
This is not about money for me. This is really about student needs, and what are our buildings are, I don't know, 60 years old or something, 70 years old. They're very old. We need to do something, and so I'm just deeply concerned about providing students with their needs.
So I think they're gonna colorful chart now.
Yep.
Colorful chart. Right. I mean, the first things one has to do is decide what you want to do. And so the first line item is project details and programming. Programming is, we did some basic programming up to this point in time to tell you what the square footages are, having gone through all the discussions with the CTE groups, over at the high school, as well as Montecito. And at that point, with the programming, in line with programming, we have, we need an educational specification, because that's what OPSC usually requires, as well as Department of Education. So in conjunction, at the same time, we're doing ed specs, and we're doing other things that have to be done on the site, no matter who is going to be working on the site, whether the 3 different processes we've talked about in the past, design, bid, build, lease back, or design, build. And either any of those 3 require some information in order to give the contractors information so they can move forward with the projects. And that has to do with surveys for both the topography as well as for the geotechnical reports. Mm-hmm. You need all of that. And then we need kind of a sign-off from CEQA with your attorney to understand what it is that you're eligible, that you can do without triggering a full year-long CEQA EIR. That's what really the goal is to avoid. Okay. You're allowed up to 10 classrooms to add to your campus with an exemption at the state CEQA level. That's it's very clear. It's, I think, exemption 23, something like that. It's been used by a lot of districts, and it makes sense. You put a relocatable on, you shouldn't have to do any CEQA. But we have to give the contractors as much information as possible, or whatever team however you want to do the project after the bond passes. Mm-hmm. There's still a basic amount of information that is required. So from there, then we go into the green line, which is that's CEQA compliance. I'm saying that it's going to take a little bit to do that, but again, overlapping with the building design. The building design being SD, being schematic design through construction documents. And that's going to take us, and this is an aggressive schedule, that's going to take us through to DSA submittal. DSA submittal takes usually 3 months. And that has to do with all their back check items. So we anticipate by the end of October of next year, and that's what shows up in the schedule, of having DSA approval. With that approval, we will then submit it to OPSC for funding. Now we have a window, if you want to take over, we have a window up till February of 26 in which there's still monies left. We don't think, based on the way they've been funding for the last few years, about $1.5 billion per year, that it's going to be any more than that per year. So based on that expenditure, right off the bat, they're going to take $4 billion out for these unfunded projects.
Right.
Okay, so that's why we're anticipating monies being available between November and February of 26, and that's why the red rectangle here is really the OPSC submittal. Now that's not funding, that's just so getting in line for funding.
Got it. So, I mean, in your in your understanding, once we get in line in 2 years from now, how long do you think it could take?
It'll take approximately 3 years.
Okay.
3 years to get funding. And because right now that's what it's taking about 3 years. And so if you look at the dollar signs that are on the chart, that's when I'm anticipating funding will happen. It's either going to happen in year 4 or year 5.
Can they see it?
Yeah, they can see it on there. It's over to the right. Now keep in mind, we laid out a green section at the very bottom, and that's going to be the what we did was we utilized the anticipated run rate of how many projects are getting turned in right now every month. It's roughly 130 million every month. So that's why I always I was telling Dr. Thurman, it's going to be 100 to 150, because I guarantee you, once everybody starts catching on to the idea that, hey, there's $4 billion on the list, there's $8 billion for the entire bond for K through 12, how much is going to be left?
Right.
And right now, guys, like I wish that the regulations were not written in the bond to separate modernization and new construction. And this is me getting on my soapbox. I promise you it'll be fast. But because here's the thing, new construction is super expensive.
Right.
There's not a lot of districts out there right now that are in the position to do new constructions. And right now, there's approximately 232 districts going out for a bond in November. And that's the one thing that I'm telling Kathy. I've told Dr. Thurman, imagine if at least 50% of those pass those bonds. That's going to be projects, or basically RFQs, RFPs hitting the streets.
Right.
And that means that when Ramona passes their bond, they're going to be competing against all those other districts trying to get these projects. So it's going to be a dash to the finish line. I like saying it. And I say that because ultimately, we're telling all of our district clients, look, our number one objective for the next year is to get as many applications on this list. Because if we don't do that, we're obviously not doing our job, but that's going to put the district in a bad position, because those districts that are going out for bonds are going out for the intention of getting money back. And at the end of the day, those projects, we're encouraging our districts to try to start those projects as soon as possible. Because, well, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say there are some districts that are not anticipating being able to participate in the state program. For instance, Culver City. Culver City has 6 schools. They just passed almost a $400 million bond. They could replace each one of those schools with that money. And so who knows what they're going to do. But there are a lot of districts, even here in San Diego, that have a list of costs of where their financing is coming from. A lot of it is coming from, or some of it, not a lot, from developer fees, their general fund. But But they're counting on their bonds to do most of the work. They're not counting on the state, to be honest with you. To be in line is a good thing, just means that it delays when the money comes in.
Is there any way to increase our priority in line? Or is
Only if we get in early. We have to have, the new requirement is a facilities master plan. We talked about that, how we can achieve that with the facilities information you have currently, and then the educational specifications. So, we can set it up as fast as possible, but the biggest thing is going to be getting the DSA approvals, because only then can we submit to OPSC.
I have heard you talk about a competitive process among districts for these funds. Do we have an advantage in that we have not passed a bond in a very long time, nearly 40 years, and we have severe infrastructure issues? Does that give us an advantage in the process? And if so, how much?
The dollar amount, I can't quantify, but depending on the facilities and the depending on the facility makeup and age, and quite frankly, it a lot of facilities I know here are very old, and we could go for facility hardship. And what that means is, on a facility hardship, you're going to get in front of the line. But here's the thing, we need Prop 2 to pass in order to get in front of the line, if that makes sense. So,
all right, then if Prop 2 passes,
yes,
why wouldn't we go for hardship to get to the front of the line?
Well, the real question is, what hardship are we talking about? There's lots of different arenas of hardship, facility hardship. One of the big things under the modernization programs is if you have a campus that's 50 years old or older and has never been addressed when it comes to utilities, you can submit for those as additional funds under the modernization program. But facility hardship, we have to go through an analysis of the buildings that we're talking about. We have to get DSA approval for that. I mean, I've done it in a couple months, not too bad. And then we submit to OPSC for funding. And it's a 50-50 program, generally, even for facility hardship. So if you qualify for, say, $8 million, and say to replace this building is going to cost $8 million, they will review everything that you give them, the costs, the drawings, everything. And then they say, okay, fine, this is great, but we're only giving you 50% of that, so you're only getting $4 million. And that's fairly easy, but it still takes about a year to get those funds. I mean, you can get it. So we have to kind of talk about how your funds can be stretched out in enough time so that you can then, as soon as you're finished with the project or contracted with the project, however you're comfortable doing it, that you're in line to get the funding. It's a reimbursement program at this point. It's not a pre-funding program, unless we can do facility hardship, and even that is only a 50-50 program.
This is going to have to come in with 50%. Now, I would love to get into the next slide that I talked about as far as how much eligibility the district has. But before we do that, I want to make sure that there's no questions regarding this timeline.
This is an aggressive timeline.
Yes.
Can I ask a clarifying question? Mr. Dome had asked about the building design piece, and I see that under the orange color on here, the fifth row down. Yeah. Is it possible to, my understanding is looking at the project details, the ed specs, compliance with school design standards, CEQA compliance, that can all be initiated while the board's coming to a decision on that final design process?
Yes, but it has doing it.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
You really don't want it to be
And
fluid, right?
Does
Like, you
that
don't want it to
design
change.
process have to be done at the end of the orange?
Which process?
The
No, you have
build
to do it
design.
at the beginning.
Right.
Okay, okay. Just want
And it could last 8
to
months.
clarify for everybody.
Now, yeah, it depends on how you do it. Either you do a lot of your homework up front, and you end up kind of in the same spot, to be honest with you, with all three programs. Just because of the information that's required for 2 out of the 3 of them.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Design build,
design
bid
build
build,
as well as lease-
and lease
lease-
spec. Yeah.
lease back, right.
Okay. Thank you.
Sorry.
Yeah. No. I appreciate it.
No, there was a presentation done just yesterday at the CASH conference, and that spoke to that. And you can see the way the contractors presented it that, of course, they wanted to emphasize design build, but they forgot that the front end of design build requires advertisement, and it requires data collection so that they know what to give you a number on, for a maximized price.
Right.
Because you don't want to go into a design build process that leaves it open to the contractor. You want to tell them what it is that you want. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it, but you're gonna need all that information.
Because some of us don't have very much, or any, in some cases, experience with this. You talked about 3 programs. Can you outline what those are for us?
Okay, the first program, which is for general schools, in general, I think that's the way you've been handling your projects, is design, bid, build. In other words, the architect designs it, you get a cost estimate, you bring in that cost estimate, and then you bid it out, and you have alternates so that you can hopefully stay within the budget. These days, it's a little more of a challenge than it has been in the past, and then you build it. So that's the first process. The second process is design build, which is, again, you have to gather all the information up front. You have to have data. You have to tell them about your curriculum. You have to tell them what you want. Basically, it's a program that you give to a contractor, and the contractor heads that team. It's not the architect that heads that team. And a lot of times, depending on the contractor, and you can interview them. I mean, you need to interview them. You have to basically give them everything that they need in order to answer their questions. And there's usually some questions and answers and meetings back and forth, so they can ask questions of you. So they can come up with a product, and then you would review the product. Now that pushes the schematic design or the programming piece out in front of the design build. But if you hire an architect at the beginning, that's what you would be doing from the beginning. The third one is lease-back. And the rules for lease-back just changed. And the state is now requiring lease-back to be bid, which is kind of we're trying to figure out how that one's working. But lease-back, the architect and the contractor are separate as well, basically under your contracts, but it's negotiated. Before anything starts, there's a negotiation then between the contractor and the architect and the district to decide where the budget is and what you want and what you then is important to you and stays in the project. Design build's not quite that way because sometimes the contractor will make a global decision and you don't get what you want. That's the biggest drawback I've heard from design build, but there are a lot of districts using design build now, especially the community colleges, but their projects are giant. So they'll have big contractors who who do that. The bigger the project, to be honest with you, the easier it is to sort of give the client what they want. The smaller the project and the tighter the project, you need a good contractor for that in order to make sure that your program is addressed. Did I give you that?
Yes, you did.
Okay.
Why is it called leaseback? Is there a lease involved?
There is a lease involved. You're basically leasing your property to the contractor for a fee. Some districts it's about $1 a year or so, but then it's however you want to pay for that work. In other words, you can make an arrangement to do it like a mortgage, where you would pay for that, and that might extend, your bond dollars quite a bit, actually, and take up the slack where this state is sort of lagging behind on their payments.
So does that mean then we would lease land to a contractor, we would control the thing that was going to be built on the property that we leased to them?
Yes.
And they build it on the promise that we pay them back over time?
Correct.
Terms to be negotiated?
Correct.
Okay.
Right. But previously that was a negotiated position. Now they're requiring you to, and you can still negotiate, but you have to put it out to bid to several contractors. In the past, you could just advertise and get qualifications and pick a contractor. A lot of times, some of the contractors stay with districts because they know they can get the projects. Now it's an actual bid. We're not quite sure how that one works because this is brand new.
So, if I'm understanding correctly, then with this new requirement on the leaseback, is your apprehension about getting an apples to apples comparison on this bid process on a leaseback?
A comparison to
the
old leaseback?
On a leaseback, right. So going to bid for that is because you said a couple times, I'm not sure how that's going to work.
Well,
what
because
is the
just the bid process, it puts it kind of in the same position as a design, bid, build. Architects design it, put it out to bid, and then it's built. This is kind of a variation on that, where there has to be a program. There has to be a decision on the size of the project and the size of the budget. And then you have a contractor give you a number on that. But in order to do that, and most contractors won't do that today unless they have a fairly extensive program. Okay.
And Kathy, along those lines, when you put a program together and you put it out at lease back, do you put the terms that the district prefers, or you're waiting to hear from them and they will propose them?
No.
The payment.
You set the terms.
Okay.
The district sets the terms with their attorney. There's a certain process you have to go through. It used to be that you had to actually test it, the lease, and that would take about a month, and that was through your attorneys. They would, I don't know how they test it, but they do it, and then if everything passes as far as what your requirements are, and then the contractor is willing to negotiate that position, and then you go into an agreement. But you really don't want to sign an agreement unless you have a budget. And they know what it is that they're providing.
Right. And one of the advantages, there's a number that you agree to that covers change orders, all those things.
There's always a contingency. There's usually a district contingency, and the contractor will have a contingency generally in leaseback as well. They'll do that in design build as well.
Right, okay.
So you can't avoid, I hate to say this, you can't avoid change orders, but you can allocate them to different pockets that where you've actually got monies, for instance, for unforeseen conditions. You put a certain amount of money in there, and at the end of the project, if it hasn't been used, it goes back to the district. You have to be clear about that in your contract.
It's the worst case scenario with funding. Like, for example,
Mm.
you said this was really aggressive.
Mhm.
So what if it doesn't go this way? What's the worst case? Like,
And-
how long could it take to get our funding?
Well, okay, our position right now is to get in as fast as possible to OPSE, and this is no different than any bond that has passed since 1998. That's always been, it's a run for the money. And to be honest with you, unfortunately, some of the wealthier districts are able to fund up front, and that's why they're in line right now for $4 billion. But the worst case scenario is you don't hit your targets, but I've been doing this a long time and generally have always hit my targets. You have to, the new processes at DSA require you to make an appointment 2 months in advance of the submittal. So that backs up, you know, the yellow portion there even 2 more months, because I have to be ready to go and submit it. I have to make an appointment now for that submittal. And the worst case scenario is, I don't know.
Let's say Prop 2 does pass, and we do, like, let's say the timeline does shift, and we get in after February 2026. Let's call it, that's like the drop dead that we want to get in. Chances are that particular application is going to have to wait for another funding mechanism. That's worst case. Another bond.
But if you do the lease back, if you're in that position, hopefully you're not at the front end, because you have to make that decision really up front. You know, pay the contractor back in 30 years. You know, then you don't expend your bond, the whole bond. You know, you've got a certain length of time, if the contractor is willing to do that. I don't know that many actually do that. Most of them are paying it off as they're building it.
Right.
That's generally the methodology.
Brian, so who, if anyone, in our district has a lot of experience with these three processes and can help us navigate them?
As of today, the architect that the district has under contract is the expert amongst us to help prepare project details, ed specs, compliance with school design standards, CEQA, all of those things to prepare
we
for
can
next
bring
steps.
in a couple of different contractors as well, who can help you see, you know, they're more familiar with some of these contracts. Lease back as well as design build. Well, the design build is actually pretty clean. It's the lease back has changed just recently, but we can bring in some other experts if you want. The state, I mean, the Office of Ed probably has some really good resources as well.
You read my mind. That was going to be my next question. Does the county office have any sort of support for our district as we navigate new situations?
Yeah, we can reach out and tap the resources as well. Yeah. Kathy has some local contractors. I know CEQA and some of those. Are those the Ramona area people?
We're working with one contractor right now who's actually very familiar with lease back, as well as design build.
Can you tell us who that is?
This Lusardi Construction, quality contractor, very upfront, very positive, very honest, I guess you can say. We've had really good experience with them. Other districts have as well. They know this process through their attorneys, you know, through their contracts. So they could probably explain a little bit more than I could. But the County Office of Ed also has attorneys that work for them. And I'm sure, because they've done design build with other school districts, and they've directed it, but I know that whole department has been sort of eliminated, but they still have attorneys that work for them under contracts.
Okay. And board members, any other questions before we move forward with whatever else you want to give us. Okay.
Positive note.
Yes?
Yeah, definitely on a positive note. Can you switch back over to the presentation? So I talked about two types of funding, modernization and new construction. Those are the two buckets that the state has right now, and those are the two buckets that are going to be in Prop 2. Okay? Those are the two main buckets. With our phase 1 that CLC conducted, we were able to identify an additional, well, let's call this 31.4 million in eligibility for Ramona Unified School District. Okay? Now, the majority of that is in Ramona High School at 15.4 million. Okay, there's 5 million sitting in Pierce, 2.8 sitting in Mount Woodson, there's 2.9 sitting in Barnett, and 3.5 sitting in Dukes, and you have some smaller amounts in the other sites. But I think the big takeaway here is this. This is the district's opportunity to be able to get in line, even if it's just one project. And it may not be the big project that we all want, but as long as it's one project. Because right now the district has identified their eligibility, and I think that's, in my opinion, that's the hardest part. Because we got to bring the architect in, we got to bring district employees in, we got to bring OPSC in, and we have to bring a consultant in to figure out that number. Okay, unfortunately, it's a very complicated process to get that calculation, but I think it's the first step in being able to respond to the community when they say, board, how is the district positioning themselves to get state funding back? We've already identified our eligibility. For sure, we definitely did that, and now it's 31 million, okay? And I'm gonna go to the next slide. The next slide is a 10-year modernization eligibility forecast. This is huge because this can play really big in strategy for the next 10 years for Ramona Unified School District. Why do I say big? Because in statute, it says that the life of a building gets reset the moment apportionment gets issued to the district. So I'm going to give you an example. In 2000, let's call it, in 2004, there are 4 sites that Ramona Unified School District received an apportionment from the state allocation board. Okay? That apportionment, let's just say it was in 2004. Fast forward 25 years. And why do I say 25 years? Because for permanent buildings, it's 25 years. For portable buildings, it's 20 years. So they have to hit that mark to become eligible again. So in the process of these buildings basically becoming reborn, the district is going to come into an additional 12.5 million by 2029. And so strategy piece, and I'm just throwing it out there, but you know, one bond this year and another bond in 2028, 2029 to pair with this additional funding in 2029. So why do I even present the 10-year modernization? Because right now it's in statute. Right now it's going to hit the state of California like a wave. And why do I say that? Because there are a lot of school districts like Ramona Unified that received apportionments anywhere from 2000 to 2005. That means that they're going to come around in their second round of funding, just like Ramona Unified is in 2025, 26, 27, and 29, and 28, 29. And so it's almost a perfect storm because you have the bond coming, Prop 2 coming out, and chances are Prop 2 will probably start initiating bonds from Prop 2 money in maybe 2026. And then they're going to start, you know, they have to keep selling bonds to get funding. But like I said, it's not about the money that's there, it's about how many projects are on the list. And right now there's 3.8 billion, and I'm guessing, based off of the run rate, the current run rate, that that list is going to be full by February 2026. Any questions on second round modernization?
Yeah, just
yes.
Just so I understand, you were saying we get in line, and
Yes.
that's a benefit. Now, once we're in line, we don't have to get in line again, right?
It's all project based.
Okay.
So you can get in line as many times as you want,
Okay.
depending on how many qualified projects that we have that can get in line.
Okay.
So, perfect example. I'm going to give you. Let's say that for Ramona High School, in order to get in line, and to get in line really quickly, one strategy, and that's in a slide later, but I'm going to talk about it now. One strategy that I've talked to Dr. Thurman and Tori about is, let's use an old project. Now, that old project has to exist. It has to be qualified, and it has to have the contract documentation to make it all the way through the audit. Because if it doesn't, it's a waste of time for everybody. So that right off the bat, when we try to qualify a project, we ask those questions. Tori, can you please give us the contract? Can you please give us the notice to proceed? Can you please give us the board resolution? We try to cross all of our T's and dot our I's, because at the end of the day, that project has to pass the audit. And if it doesn't, like I said, it's a waste of time. So let's just say hypothetically, there's a HVAC project out there for Ramona High School. It's roughly $800,000. That's a perfect project to take to OPSC and get in line. And the reason why I'm saying an old project is because that money is already spent. And now it becomes a reimbursement project. You're going to state matching, you're going to get 60 cents on the dollar. Did that answer your question?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a rinse and repeat process, guys.
But we just have to keep getting in line.
Yes.
Got it. Okay. That's
And,
what
and
that's what I
so
understand.
the key is, not only do you have to keep getting in line, but you also have to have eligibility.
Right. I mean, we
If you
can't-
don't have eligibility, you got nothing to get in line for.
Right. I get that. So that makes sense. I just want to make sure I understood it.
Yeah.
Sounds like going to Disneyland or something.
Oh yeah, no, it's you got to plan your whole day out.
Yeah. You got to have the e-ticket.
Well, that's what I care about right now.
I'm gonna.
So
go
these
ahead.
numbers that we're seeing, the 2024 estimated eligibility, that's not projects that we had done in the past that we think.
No,
we can
that's
be
eligibility. So basically that is I guess you can say like a coupon that you can go cash in with a qualified project. And it's sitting on the books right now.
In other words, there are buildings on each of those campuses that are more than 25 years or 25 years old or older that now qualify for modernization.
Okay. So when we met a couple of months ago,
Mm-hmm.
we talked about work in identifying projects that we had done already
Mm-hmm.
that would qualify for reimbursement. Are those part of this?
No, unfortunately.
So where is that?
So the qualification is actually, it's not in this contract, to be honest with you. So we submitted a proposal. Proposal had a phase 1, which is identifying eligibility and filing for any eligibility increases. Phase 2 is qualifying projects and then getting those projects in line.
Okay.
So
are we doing that for work that we've done already? Projects that are done already?
Not right now. No, we don't have contract authorization.
Sure.
To put it frank, yeah, we don't have contract authorization, and to be honest with you, I would love to get a contract today, but to move forward in the I guess you can call it the process phase 2.
Right.
And we've identified projects. We just have not asked the district to put. Well, we have asked the district to say these are the documentation. This is the documentation that we're going to need, but we haven't moved forward with those yet.
So I'm a little squeamish about moving forward on a bigger scale when we haven't really had small step success yet in seeing dollars come back. And that's just my own, I'm not speaking for the board on this. I haven't spoken with any board members about this. Just for me and my comfort level, I need some small wins.
But I totally get that, and we get that all the time. But at the same time, the district has not made strides to get in line. You don't get funding until you get in line.
Yeah, I'm
right?
not saying that's on you, but for me, as I'm looking at this, it seems pretty pie in the sky. If we have some things that we've done already that we haven't pursued, but yet we want to look at the future and things we might pursue.
Yeah.
Ooh, it just seems a little out of order for what I'm comfortable with. And I understand why, and Prop 2 and money that's there and getting in line. I got that. I just, and it's my own misunderstanding. I thought we were going to work on bringing some of those dollars back that we've already spent, but we're not.
Well,
The
I guess
purpose of this
that's strategy
contract
one.
was to get us these accurate dollars. They gave us a few of these that they knew preliminarily, but the purpose of phase one, like Steve was mentioning earlier, was to identify this. I know Climate Tech project is one that they'll be able to work with because that required DSA approval. So there are some things pending, but that is per the contract, that is the next phase of work for them. Like you said, this is very, very detailed and time consuming to come up with.
Okay.
So,
that's a support decision.
Yeah.
So as
I think
far
Roger had a question.
Oh, go ahead, Roger.
For now?
No, it just brought up why Montecito and why the district office isn't on this list.
The district office,
Had a modernization less than 25 years ago. That's why it's not there.
And the district
And the
office?
district office?
It-
Good
it-
question.
so in order to qualify for the program, you have to house pupils. And it have to be teaching stations.
Well, we have Future Bound on this facility.
Right. The gym is used by Montecito.
But it has to have, it has to have a CDE number.
Oh.
Like to become, like, in order for it to be qualified for the project, the site has to have, number one, teaching stations. Number two, it has to have like a regular teaching time, like a bell schedule, and then it has to have a CDE number.
Well, and we can ask about that, because the gym is used by Montecito.
It is, but it doesn't have a CDE number.
Yeah, it's gonna.
But Montecito does.
It used to have a CDE.
That's true. Montecito does.
Oh, and it used to.
And it's being used, so this is part of Montecito.
Right.
That's the way around it.
Years ago, it had a CDS code.
Well, okay, so I would say this though, Montecito is on the second round.
Okay.
It's in 2029.
I just don't want to lose it. That's why I think
Yeah.
I think that eligibility number is bigger.
For
Montecito?
It goes to 1.2.
If yeah, well, no, if you're adding this building,
Well, it doesn't have this building in it right now.
right? I'm just saying.
Right.
One area.
Yeah, it could be bigger.
Always has.
Okay.
and for the program, we actually take into consideration teaching stations, and unfortunately, gym is considered a minimal essential facility. So those in today's regulations, those aren't considered that they're teaching stations in the program. They don't count. They don't count in square footage or classrooms. Okay. Yeah, we'll try. And so what I'm saying is, in Prop 2, there's language in there that says that there is going to be supplemental grants for minimal essential facilities.
Okay.
So that's where we basically say, okay, we're going to use that card for Prop 2.
Got it.
But until it passes, we can't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand. I mean, everybody's really hopeful. So
Definitely.
Any other questions before we move to the next part of the presentation? Okay, we're ready.
So the next eligibility amount is new construction, and new construction takes it's a little different than modernization. Modernization takes eligibility per site, where new construction actually takes the eligibility for the entire district. And unfortunately, based on the numbers and based on current enrollment, the district has really only 2 classrooms that qualify as new construction eligibility. And it's primarily because there was a lot of new construction eligibility that was used up in the past. And Yeah.
RCC and Hanson.
Right.
And so in order for that number to grow, enrollment has to increase. And unfortunately, enrollment's not. It's declining. So as I mentioned, we can qualify old projects and get in line for reimbursement funds. We can also be strategic with the proposed CTE plan pathway and modernization phases of the projects that are proposed in the bond. And we haven't completely vetted that out, but that's an option for strategy. I would love to say we exhausted any effort to apply for any old projects. I think that would be key because that's the low-hanging fruit right now for the district, is any project that the money has already been spent.
So a question, when you were saying that there has to be an increase in enrollment, are you saying by site or by district-wide?
So for new construction, it's district-wide.
Okay.
New construction takes the enrollment for the entire district.
Just want to make sure, because we could definitely make one site grow.
Yeah.
We just passed that policy.
You know, that was a big chunk of Ramona High School. That number of the 15 million was due to enrollment and I believe SDC enrollment.
Okay.
See, and because the general ed has a specific number as far as a dollar value, and then you have mod SDC, and then you have severe SDC, or you have non-severe and severe. Those two have higher dollar amounts or values than general ed. So if you have, let's say, 20 pupils in severe SDC, you're going to get, and I think the grant amount's like $20,000 per pupil.
Wow.
And so you're going to get $20,000 per pupil for SDC severe.
For general construction, not specifically for a SDC classroom.
Correct.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
So Steve, since we're not growing, we don't need new space, but we need to replace old space.
Yes.
And that sometimes can be modernization, but is it still always going to be under new construction?
No, so modernization is considered like for like. So if you have 20,000 square feet that you're like, you know what, we need this new space for our students, we have to find another 20,000 square feet that we can basically get rid of and demolish. And ideally it would be relocatables, because those are the easiest to pick up and take off.
45 of them that are ready to go.
Yeah. And so that's one approach that we take with a lot of our district clients when they want a new building, but they don't have the money to do new construction or the eligibility, but they do have the eligibility in modernization. And that's where Ramona High School is sitting right now. $15 million in modernization eligibility. You could be strategic and say, we're going to get rid of these relocatables, build a new building, and now that project qualifies as modernization funding. Even though it's a brand new building, you're replacing 20,000 square feet with 20,000 square feet.
And we would need to spend 10 million, and we would qualify for 15 million matching funds for a total of 25 million.
Yeah.
That
It's a
could
60-40%.
replace that project. Yeah, replace those classrooms. And then we could do something similar at RE, but not till after 2029 for Ramona Elementary.
That's correct.
Or maybe in 2029?
For Ramona?
Ramona Elementary has
Elementary?
24. Yeah, they're not eligible now, 900,000, but 2029,
Was probably the library.
2029 it goes to, just 3.3. I see.
Really?
Okay.
Okay.
It was the old modernization.
The drop ceilings and all those things, I think, probably. Okay.
Where you weren't allowed to do anything outside.
Yeah.
Before they had the 50-year additional funding for all the site work.
Any questions? Oh yeah, no, 100%. Any questions on the qualification strategy as far as utilizing old projects or utilizing old relocatables that are beyond their age, demoing those and building a new building? That would be another strategy that you definitely can take.
Do sport fields count as classrooms?
No, but if you do turf replacement, that qualifies for the program. If you do new lighting, that qualifies for the program. If you do new scoreboards, bleachers, qualifies for the program.
I'm just curious. Just wanted to know all of our options.
Yeah.
Does new turf and bleachers count when the stadium was
where it
redone?
didn't exist anymore? Where it didn't exist, or replacing?
No, where it didn't exist.
No, I don't.
Okay.
It's not okay. Yeah, we have a current situation right now where we have a district that has a pool, and they actually made the pool bigger. Unfortunately, it doesn't qualify for the program because they made it like almost twice the size. And if what they did was redo the pool and make it exact same size, and they can actually put bleachers around it and make it increase maybe the spectator area, that would qualify. But because they doubled the size of the pool, it doesn't qualify.
Kathy, were you involved in the COP expenditures, the certificates of participation, when they did a 2-story building at OPMS, the football stadium, and some other projects? I'm
No.
just wondering if any of those might qualify. There's a 2-story building. I don't recall how many classrooms.
I have a
in the back
feeling,
of
I
OP.
mean, I don't remember. I think it was HMC that did that, and they have their own
okay.
eligibility team, so
Okay.
they may have tapped into, but the state will have that information.
Okay.
We can look at it.
Yeah, good.
But there, in the last, I guess, 10 years, you really haven't had a lot of major construction on the projects. The only things, I mean, this summer I saw the battery storage was one, and I'm pretty sure that's eligible over at the high school. The only other things I've seen have been fencing projects that, and I'm sure those are probably eligible. You know, there have been some playgrounds here and there, and some shade structures, but hasn't been anything, unfortunately, major that I know about, unless you know about some of the projects.
And I didn't think our chain link fencing required DSA, but it was only.
You don't need to have DSA approval for
submit.
anything actually under 35 feet.
Oh, okay. So that would still qualify without DSA?
Yeah, it's just it's an well, it's usually an access-only review, and you can probably self-certify for that.
We would pair it with a qualified project. So for instance, if you have a $60,000 shade structure, and we do this a lot with other districts, it's $60,000 shade structure, and they did fencing and maybe roof, non-DSA, DSA exempt projects. We can use those projects and couple them with the anchor project of the shade structure that was DSA approved.
Okay.
And that's where the strategy comes in, because it's like, okay, we don't have the DSA projects, but we do have some projects that are DSA approved, and there's eligibility. How can we bring them together and get the most, basically maximize the state funding?
Okay.
So what about the baseball field?
It could take, so to get that information, it's really dependent upon the documentation of the district. We have districts that it can take anywhere from 6 months to get that information to us, or it can take 30 days. Yeah.
Okay.
And I know, and there's, I've talked to Dr. Thurman. There's a good chance that I would like to stay away from any project beyond 2012. And I only say that because 2012 seems to be for us that threshold of documentation was just not done, just like statewide, for some reason, or it got damaged. It rained, and if you think about it, we weren't digitizing documentation then. Anything after that, like 2015, digitization of documentation started to get more generally accepted.
Okay.
That's good.
Questions? Comments? Overwhelmed?
No, I'm ready. Ready to go.
Okay. All right. Anything from us on this? Just the information?
Some information.
Yeah, I just want to thank you both for your time and working together. I know we've had numerous conference calls with all three of us on going through the information and clarifying, and I think this is really valuable for us to see. And the
Did you work on this together? You kind of tag teamed on the presentation. Kathy, did you make this? Okay, thank you.
I have one more question.
All right. Yeah.
One of the things that when Kathy and I were talking, I was like, look, Kathy, I don't know how long it takes to get the sequel stuff. I don't know
Right.
how long it takes to do volume. I can guess. I can do an estimate, but that's why I was like, you're going to have to help me with that.
Right. Thank you.
You're the expert.
Thank you for working together.
I have one more quick question.
Yes.
So, say everything happens like we want. We will go ahead and build everything. So how long do we have to wait for our new projects to be used for possible reimbursement? Right away.
The plans for those projects would be submitted in this process in the OPSC line, waiting to hear what we would do.
Okay.
Because even the brand new buildings that were proposed have some level of reimbursement, not as significant as the like for like, right?
It's okay.
You'd be in
I
line
can
for
hear
the
you.
funding, and then they would confirm it after your bid, after your project's closed out.
I got it. And that would be like, well, at least the one, it was 60%. So how much?
For modernization, yes.
Yeah, so that's pretty significant.
Yeah.
And we can use that again to build another building.
Well, the 15 million is your 60%
Right.
right now.
And that
Yes.
the whole cost of the new building wouldn't qualify for all of that.
Just the portion minus the 15.
Yes.
That 15 million is your dollar amount.
Right. So, but the 35 we could use down the road. Got it. Okay. Just want to make sure we understood how that worked.
And so when you go back to the timeline, we're looking to get the preliminary plans into CDE by month 4.
Okay.
So that could be whenever, obviously whenever. I guess you can say the clock would start in November, right?
And CDE goes through 2 steps. They go through the preliminary design step, and then they go through the final step. We have to have that letter from them when we submit all the plans to OPSC. In other words, they have to approve the plans. They will generally ask us for their ed specs, but they have a different form. They have a 4.0, sorry, all the numbers. But that one is, it's a specific form for modernization. We fill in ed specs. Luckily, we have quite a bit of information on the ed specs. And we don't have to actually fill ed specs, which makes life a lot easier.
So if Prop 2 and our bond pass, or it looks very clear that it's going to pass, we'll probably see you at the November board meeting.
Yeah.
Exciting. It's going to be exciting times.
Yes. Okay. Got it.
But as everybody will tell you, it's a race.
Right. That's why I was like, we'll probably see you in November if it's going to pass.
Possibly.
And there are quite a few districts here in San Diego County that are going
For bonds.
But the big one, San Diego Unified, they did theirs.
In March,
So,
right?
Last year.
Oh, last year, yeah.
It was like
Yeah.
some billion dollars or a couple billion. It was almost the size of the state fund.
Wow.
State bond.
Wow.
It's huge.
Wow. Well,
Yes.
they're a big district.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
You guys have a great evening.
Drive safe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we are now on I-4, and that is our superintendent.
All right. Good evening, President Perfect, members of the board, and the one member of the public/cabinet. I just tonight really want to take some time to thank some of our staff. Thank you guys. Drive careful. That have been just working really hard. And there's hundreds of those, but just some. I want to call out a few, and then I'm going to highlight a student as well. We mid-September took about 20 community members on a student-led tour of our CTE programs. Dr. Marovich, Mrs. Rodriguez, Rob Charlton, Jody Chapp, staff at RHS and Montecito High School, organized this event. Took about a half a day. Students presented all along the way, from our first stop at Montecito all the way through the whole afternoon. Ended with a delicious lunch. The students did an amazing job. And during lunch, many of those folks came up and said, this was amazing. We recommend you record those students to be able to put on the website because we want to tell people about this. So RHS has done that. They have the videos completed. Mrs. Rodriguez was texting me today. There was a format issue today, so she couldn't upload them, but they are completed, and we'll have those ready soon, and we'll put those out. They're shorts, those short snippets for each pathway that we'll be sending out through our social media, et cetera, on our website and all that. So we're excited about that. I wanted to thank the Ramona High School and the RCC communities for putting on some amazing activities last week. The homecoming we heard about. What stood out to me about that was probably 300 to 400 students participating throughout the morning. It was assembly at 8:30. We appreciate President Perfect and Dan Summers coming and watching those. We had a front row seat, but from students being the MCs, dancing, playing instruments, all kinds of stuff. It was just highly engaging with everybody. The audience, the rest of the school was engaged. Just a really great time for homecoming and seeing everybody so excited, engaged, and energetic. And then at the game as well, just that excitement continued. We had, I think, 6 or 7 visitors that morning, or maybe it was the morning before, that graduated in the mid-60s, came by and said hello and walked through and said the building hadn't changed a bit since they were in school. But it was really great to see them. And then that same Friday, RCC had their annual Harvest Festival, which was also a great event. You heard about the sandwiches. They smelled delicious. I didn't eat one yet. I was still doing a bunch of stuff. But it was just great to see the RCC campus come together, MVA and RCMS, to hold that event, and all the families that came. I met several parents on my way in, and just was a really another great time. Also want to just highlight a young man. I think Sean might have the picture of this. I met today. I was out at Mount Woodson, and the admin assistant, Miss Rosedal, let me know that there was a student who had recently learned the Pledge of Allegiance in English, and I asked a little more information, and the library tech, Miss Jeannie Brandt, said yes, he was new last year. His name's Emmanuel, but he's been working really hard. Hadn't been in school a lot before that, and he had learned the pledge. I said, can we call him up? Is that okay? And so we called him up, and he did the Pledge of Allegiance for me. So we got to salute the flag, all 4 of us right there. Miss Brandt, Miss Rosedal, myself, and Emmanuel. And I just talked to him about his journey and all the things he was dealing with, but he was able to say the whole pledge in English, and he was super proud of that. I walked him back to class a little bit, told him I was going to call his family to be able to put his picture up here, and he was all clear. So I talked to his dad today and just said we wanted to include him tonight. So we're going to send him the link of this so that Dad will see. But Dad was really proud as well. So just one specific example to show you the face of that, of how hard the district staff works with our students. To have a young man learn this in a different language in a matter of months, from another country, not having been in school before, was really an amazing feat. So it's just an example of what our staff does for our students every day, making such great gains in such little time. And then last but not least, I just want to highlight the informational flyer that was sent out regarding Measure GG, giving that to information to people. We've had great feedback on just some of the details and being informed up front on what that's all about. So just wanted to mention that, and of course, if anyone else has questions, we're always able to ask those, and I know you all have been doing the same thing, which we appreciate that. And just want to thank our entire school community for their work and representative here and all the Emmanuels and all the students in our district. So really great day and a great time to be in our USD.
Thank you. All right, very nice. Board reports. So I'll start over here with Dan.
Okay, well, Brian kind of stole some of my thunder, but anytime there's an event involving Ramona High School, if it's an opportunity for our students to show pride in Ramona High School, they embrace it and just put everything they have into it. And that has not been the case in several other high schools that I've worked. But Ramona, given the opportunity to demonstrate pride, they eat it up. And it was really nice to see.
Excellent. Darren?
So I just want to call attention to the middle school. On September 27th, they had what they're now calling a spirit lunch. Previous to that, they called them No One Eats Alone. And where they would invite family members onto campus to have lunch with their middle schooler. And, there's quite a separation that goes on between middle school and elementary school, where in elementary school you can still go on the campuses and volunteer and work in the classes, and by the time your kids hit middle school, it's like, no thanks. But we had over 220 family members or significant others or people that were significant in that student's life, is probably the best way to put it, show up and enjoy lunch with the student that they love. And the atmosphere was electric. It was festive. There was music playing. The kids were happy. The parents and the loved ones were I'm sure just ecstatic to be invited to go onto the middle school campus. And the atmosphere is fantastic at that school. And I know I've talked about this before, but please, please, please let that staff know that they are hitting home runs every single day. So that's all I have.
Very nice, Darren. Thank you. Roger?
I just wanted to just bring up the CSBA conference. We haven't really talked about that.
We have not.
And just put it on our radar about what we're going to be doing. And then additionally, I had Brian needed my signature as well as all of you, and so he met me at work, and I had the opportunity to show him my facilities. I actually have 3 classrooms. One is a computer lab. The other one is a facility that we do engineering testing in, and then the other one is a model shop or machine shop. So he was impressed with it. You guys are definitely welcome if you want to come see it. You get an idea of what our new facilities could look like here in Ramona.
Thank you, Roger. Maya?
I also attended a homecoming football game and attended RCC Fall Festival, as well as today's tennis match. And it's always a wonderful opportunity, the events like this, to talk to parents, teachers, and students. Also, a couple of months ago we had this speaker, I think her name was Lisa White, and she was very concerned about AB 1955, how it's going to affect parental rights, and she was concerned that it's restricting parental rights, and she was wondering what our district was going to do about that. And I thought for a while, oh, there's nothing we can do, because we can't require staff to notify parents about gender issues. And mind you, AB 1955 does not prohibit staff from informing parents. It just prohibits boards from passing policies that would require staff to do so. But if staff wants to notify parents on their own accord, voluntarily, they can do it. But not so long ago I came across an article that talks about policy in Texas that I think does not, for the most part, violate AB 1955. So if to summarize it, what it says in the places where it does not violate the letter, at least, of AB 1955, educators must use pronouns consistent with the student's birth certificate, regardless whether the student wishes to use different pronouns. Also, for a student to use a different name or pronoun, their parents must provide a written notification to the school. What else? That policy contains that educators cannot promote or require the use of pronouns inconsistent with student's biological sex. So, something else. District shall not compel personnel or other students to address or refer the student to in any manner that would violate the speaker's constitutionally protected rights. And another last paragraph of the policy is titled Restriction Against Concealing Information, and it says that no policy may encourage or instruct personnel to conceal material information about a student from the student's parent, including information about gender. So it seems to me that, at least in the letter of this policy, it does not violate AB 1955. Of course, we probably need to consult our lawyer to see what they say, but I wonder if that's something we could do for our district's parents, and to strengthen relationships with our district's parents and promote parental rights in our district.
Well, I don't know. It sounds like definitely entering the legal fray that we see some other districts in California participating in. I don't know that we want to do that, but Brian, you can work with board members and see if there is interest in pursuing this. Okay, thank you. My board report will be brief. I attended the same homecoming assembly that Brian mentioned that Dan and I attended. It was wonderful. I hadn't been to that homecoming assembly in a couple of years, although I have many times in the past. It had been a little while, and it was so fun. I had a great time. The kids, the school spirit, the staff, just the program itself was put together very well with a lot of participation. I especially enjoyed the new club performers, the Folklorio group that was out there. Wonderful, really great. I got to see the band do part of their halftime show from up close, almost in the pit, like the good old days, so that was pretty neat too. Just overall a really, really fun morning. You know, I won't debate here whether the seniors or the sophomores had the better air band performance. They were both good. I do have my favorite that I would say, not on mic, but I could see that a lot of work went into those, and just a great experience. And I did not make it over to the RCC festival. I saw it as I passed by on my way to another commitment. So anyway, hopefully that was a success. But I did have a great time. So thank you, Brian, for encouraging. Dan and I had a meeting set with Brian, and he suggested that we start off at the homecoming assembly, and that was a really great use of time.
One more thing
Yes.
before you adjourn.
Yes.
Since my first Padre game was 1954 at Lane Field, no one in this room has any idea what I'm talking about. I would be remiss at this pivotal moment if I didn't say, go Padres.
Go Padres. All right. Okay, and with that, we have no other closed business to attend to. Our next regularly scheduled meeting right here, November 14th. If there's no objection to adjourning, I will adjourn the meeting. Seeing none, meeting adjourned. Thank you.